Hello and welcome to On the Corner, the official podcast, pitcherlist.com. I'm your host, Eric Samulski, joined, as always, by Ty Lord himself. It's Nick Pollack.
What is happening? Hi. Yes, we have 2 weeks left in the fantasy season, and we're here to help everyone. Thanks for being here, Eric. Thanks for being here. All of you on YouTube and on Twitter right now.
Thank you for being here. Yeah, listen, trust us. We feel the grind too. You're crawling across the finish line at this point in the season, but there's still ground to be made up. There's still important decisions to be made. Hopefully, some of you are still grinding for championships. Hopefully we can give you some answers there. But yes, we know it is tough at this point in the season, but we're going to get through it together.
Absolutely. I'm actually in the PL Legacy League. I lost in the last moment in the semifinals. I had it. But one major one, I think it's like the only other head-to-head league I'm in the championship of. So I'm making a lot of these decisions with you guys. Okay.
Yeah, I have only one head-to-head league, and I made the semifinals as the 1 seed and lost. That was a team I co-ran with a friend, and now it's all roto stuff left.
There you go. So I'm going to give you guys a 30-second breakdown. This is how you win a head-to-head league in the championship. 1, you look at your opponents for the entire week for your starting pitchers. You count how many of them that you like and then how many of them you have on Sunday. 2, you go to your opponents and say, great, who are they facing the entire week? How many starts do they have? If it's even, be ready to then circle the weekend starts. 2nd, you got to identify who are the pitchers that you are dropping midweek. The second that your guy has a start and doesn't have another start again, that's it. They're done. You move on. Sorry, Michael King. Once you go against the Astros, we're done. 3rd, you got to look at Thursday. Make sure you understand that you have as many plate appearances as possible for Thursday. You want to have a full lineup there. You throw everything together, and what you do is you map out and make sure you have more starts than your opponent that you like. Ensure that you have backup plans for Sunday, and ensure that you have Thursday hitters. Otherwise, good luck. That's all we can do. It's all we can hope we can do. And you just got to leave it up to Koufax himself from above, helping us out.
Yes, and maybe don't sweat it. Don't watch it. It just I got to set my lineup. I got to make sure I'm playing as many people as I can, and I have to tune it out because it is it's tough. It's really tough.
It's really tough. Watching Martin Perez allow a home run and get pulled, not getting a winner quality start literally got me into the finals. So I couldn't believe that when I got lucky. But yeah, it's not fun watching that. Anyway, what we're doing is we're going to talk about every single start this week. What better way to figure it out?
Yeah, so we are switching it up this week. If you've been listening the last few weeks, we've gone team by team, and we've broken down kind of the starters on that team and who they're facing over the next few weeks. Because there's only 2 weeks left, we are going day by day, and we're just going to do this calendar week. We may actually throw in some starters we like on Monday the 23rd, in case you're in roto leagues and stuff like that, and you want to know who to pick up, because obviously our show won't come out until that Monday, so we won't be able to talk about those pitchers.
Exactly.
So we're going to do that now. We're going to go day by day. We're going to start on Tuesday, September 17th, because again, we're recording this at 4 in the afternoon or early evening, however you want. I don't know. Who knows what that delineation is? Nobody knows. But we're doing that on Monday. So you can't really make roster moves for Monday by the time you hear this. So we're going to start on Tuesday.
There we go.
The cover boy for this week's article edition of the list is Sean Manaea.
Yeah.
And so this episode is called The Maneater. His nickname nickname is the Manaea-nator or something, which I think is dumb.
No, he's Baby Giraffe.
Well, I'm just we're going. MLB.com has him down as like the Manaea-nator.
Baby Giraffe. You'll always be Baby Giraffe.
But I look at his name and I think Maneater, and so he's a Maneater.
Yeah, there you go.
We're going with it.
But he is not going to be talked about much today. I mean, he will be later on in the week, but he's pitching tonight. I'm actually going to that game. So if you're watching this live, and you're at Citi Field tonight, let me know. I'll be there with a few people. But we're going to be talking about Tuesday's games, and somebody's there. I don't know who.
I wonder. But yes, we're gonna the tiers above. I'm going to give you all of the names, and as we get to the bottom, the questionable starts, we'll just highlight some of the guys we really do want to talk about. So the auto starts on Tuesday. You've got Zach Wheeler, against Milwaukee. You got Cole Reagans against Detroit, Blake Snell against Baltimore, Luis Heel against Seattle, Michael King against the Astros, Nathan Eovaldi against the Blue Jays, and Brian Woo against the Yankees. They're all auto starts, but do you want to highlight any of these guys or say anything about
Yeah,
them?
I mean, I don't think we're going to really talk about auto starts at all. I mean, we're probably just going to just say the names, like just go and do it. If you really want to be careful, I would say by the end of the week, it's going to get a little bit more dicey as far as you don't have to start some of the guys, or you might not know if they get the Sunday ones. But understand that Michael King on the Padres they don't have a Thursday game. If they don't have a Thursday game, that means he does not get a 2-start week, which means he won't get another start after this. So if your season ends on Sunday, you drop Michael King for that bat on Thursday, or a reliever, or just something else to help you, because he is not worth your time after this start.
Yes, and we should just note Luis Heel is in there. I know he has struggled, towards the end of the year, and so people have been like, am I starting him? Am I not? You're starting him. The Mariners haven't looked great. Go for it.
Exactly. I mean, it's also in Seattle, which has a 25% boost in strikeouts inherently, which is just absolutely bonkers.
Wild. The probable start tier: Nick Pivetta against the Rays, Shane Baz against the Red Sox, Albert Suarez against the Giants, Hunter Brown against the Padres, and Chris Bassett against the Rangers.
Yeah, this is tough because, I mean, Pivetta versus Baz in Trop is great, right? It's going to help with Pivetta's IVB and his forcing, which is already elite, and it's just like, oh my gosh. And then Shane Baz gets the Red Sox on the road. So both of that looks great. I don't know who gets to win. I guess maybe Pivetta more. They are a more winning team, but whatever. Also could go longer than Baz. And keep in mind, especially when you look at the article I put out later today, that's going to be series posts of every single game. So that's next week included. If you're listening to this on Tuesday, go check it out on the site. It's really tough to figure out how long the Rays are going to push Shane Baz next week. Mm-hmm. So you're going to see some weirder starts that normally would be auto start or higher, maybe down into questionable, because I don't really think they're going to be pushed. But those should be fine for Tuesday. You have Albert Suarez with the rain, maybe in Camden. It's like a 50% chance of rain, but that should be really good. Hunter Brown's a tough one. Would you be doing this at San Diego, given how well Hunter Brown has performed? It didn't go well last time, but he's just kind of a man of chaos, and it's generally been very good for him.
I'm going to roll it out. I feel like, maybe I get a quality start out of it. Like, I don't know that he's going to dominate them, but quality start, secure a win. So I would happily not happily. I would roll out Hunter Brown in that particular start.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I would too. And Chris Bassett gets 2 starts, including Texas, and he's just been fine recently. And you go with that. So there they are. You don't really think too much about them. And obviously, as with all of these days, the real interesting ones are more inside of the questionable and do not start.
Yes. And so that questionable start tier, Tyler McGill against the Nationals, Gavin Williams against the Twins, Bobby Miller against the Marlins, Lance Lynn against the Pirates, Griffin Canning against the White Sox, Mitchell Parker against the Mets, Davis Martin against the Angels, Frankie Montas against the Phillies, Bailey Falter against the Cardinals, and Mitch Spence against the Cubs. We did tease this weeks ago that you might be picking up Davis Martin for these final few starts, and you might. Listen, it has not been good. Or the last few starts have not been good. It was looking solid for a while. The Mets start 2 starts ago, not particularly good. Looked good at Boston, which was a surprise. And then this final start, or last start against the Guardians, again, you were never going to pitch him against the Guardians, but allowing 5 runs on 6 hits in 3 innings.
Right.
So
Davis Martin is a changeup slider guy, really, in my head. Slider has taken over a little bit lately. Changeup actually was really good before in the kick change. And it's possible it's there here. Obviously, the White Sox haven't been winning many games, but then again, they just did a little bit. It's there. It's possible. I might be too high on Davis Martin versus, say, Frankie Montas, but then again, Montas is getting the Phillies, and that's not a fun one to go with against Wheeler. Like, I don't really want to do that. Bailey Falter, I don't know, maybe he has his 4-seamer and slider working well in that game. And then Mitch Spence against the Cubs, and it's the Cubs. And I just get a sense of Davis Martin. Look, you throw your changeup well enough and your slider well enough. Like, you have good enough skills that it could work out well. Other ones to consider, I mean, Griffin Canning, you might want higher up against the White Sox. But then again, Griffin Canning has not exploited many teams. And yes, he did get 18 whiffs last time. That's nice. he still throws far too many hittable breaking balls and changeups. He also is very inconsistent with keeping his four-seamer out of the zone. He needs to do that. It's a very hittable fastball. Meanwhile, Lance Lynn has been surprisingly good, say for that 10 earned run a game. And now he gets Pittsburgh, so fine. Tyler McGill, I was tempted to put into probable start. Same with Gavin Williams. But Tyler McGill doesn't demand success, right? We don't know if he's going to put his fastball in the right spot. We don't know if he's going to have enough secondaries to make it work. The Nationals every so often just surprise us and go, oh man, really? Okay. So I'm a little tepid on it. While Gavin Williams, his fastball is fantastic, but it is a healthier Twins lineup. And he hasn't really found that groove with his secondaries to complement that four-seamer yet. And I don't know whatever you want to do with Bobby Miller against the Marlins. Like, do what you want to do. I'm done talking about it.
Yeah, I can't trust Bobby Miller. I benched him in a lot of leagues this week where I have him. I just can't do it anymore.
Right.
And Lance Lynn, I'm inclined to go with. I mean, one start off the IL was against the Reds. It was in Cincinnati, looked good. I don't think this Pirates offense is particularly daunting. I think there's a good chance at a win there. But I am going to throw a wrinkle live right now because I just checked Twitter
already,
and a team has changed their starter. And tomorrow, the Braves are going to be starting Grant Holmes.
Are they really?
At Cincinnati. You have Ian Anderson slated, and you have him in the do not start. So does Grant Holmes move up to the questionable tier for you?
I need to look to see how many pitches Grant Holmes has thrown and if he's stretched out enough. And from what I remember before Grant Holmes, I actually really like the real estate broker because he grants Holmes that when he does go long enough, it's a fastball, slider, I believe curve, and maybe sometimes splitter. Really those three primary ones. It's good. Like, it works. The slider looks great with him. The problem is, how long is he going to go on this? It is in Cincinnati as well. So I would have him in the questionable start tier. I probably would have him around, I'd say underneath Frankie Montas, like Bailey Falter, Mitch Spence area. Because it could be a productive one. He could be out of practice with it too. Not really stretched out, not really starting. I need to double check it if that's going to be a wrinkle right now. But tune in tomorrow morning. You'll see my streaming rankings updated with Grant Holmes, of course, and we'll figure it out from there.
Okay. Last question on this day, Tuesday. Why do not start Jordan Wicks? Seems like a pretty nice matchup for him.
It is, except Jordan Wicks hasn't done anything.
Fair.
Like, he's really not been anywhere close to what we want Jordan Wicks to be at. That said, he's gone against the Yankees and the Dodgers, but I don't want to just say, oh, cool, he's going to be great now against the Athletics. Like, he has not had a single start to give us any confidence. And to me, the other options we've seen have success. So I would just wait and say, like, look, you don't want to bank on a guy who just hasn't done it.
That's fair. And again, the A's are not that, like, the joke offense that people thought.
Yeah, no, they're a middle tier,
so
team.
middle tier. But again, and Wicks also gets the Nationals in the second start this week, so I know he's a very popular two-start pitcher.
Yeah, I've actually raised him up to questionable from there, but just in hoping that there is stuff here that I pull from it that he would be better for the Nationals.
There you go. Wednesday's games. Auto starts. Tarek Skubal against the Royals. Sonny Gray against the Pirates. Aaron Nola against the Brewers. Dylan Cease against the Astros. Framber Valdez against the Padres. Bailey Ober against the Guardians. And Bowden. Can't believe Bowden Francis is in the auto start here.
Do you know what the minimalist score is? Have you heard of this?
Mm-mm.
This is something I came up with, I think, in like 2017 when I was at before like Pitcherless 3.0 existed. Okay. And that was like back in the old frantic WordPress theme, basic looking blog. And minimalist score is where a guy would go at least 7 innings, usually 8, but the only thing they would do is just allow balls in play that would be outs. So it'd be like 1 hit, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts in 8 innings is a minimalist score of 4 because only 4 things happen, 0 earned runs or whatever.
Okay.
And Bowden Francis had that, a minimalist score of 4 as he was throwing, what was it? It's either a no-hitter or a perfect game. I think it was a no-hitter until Francisco Lindor hit that home run on an 0-2 fastball that was right down the middle of like such a meatball. And he just swung at that. I was like, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to do this. So, look, if you want to, by all means, like, I get it. That's why he's here. I'm just throwing my hands up in the air, kind of like with David Peterson. But come on, this is not a sustainable thing. Yeah, who cares? Like, I know if you have Bowden Francis, there's no way that you are not starting him against the Rangers. So go ahead. Let's ride it out, guys.
Let's ride Bowden Francis, baby. It is time. Probably start. Nestor Cortez against the Mariners. Spencer Schwellenbach against the Reds. Tanner Bybee against the Twins. Cody Bradford against the Blue Jays. Bryce Miller against the Yankees. Freddie Peralta against the Phillies. Dean Kramer against the Giants. Jose Quintana against the Nationals. Quintana, lowest rostered guy there, but it's a pretty good matchup for him. I did pick him up in a few places. Feels like a pretty strong start for him.
Yeah, he didn't really impress me too much against the Phillies, but it's enough that, all right, Quintana, you're getting your stuff close-ish to what you want it to be. So fine, do it against the Nationals. It's a decent win chance as well. Dean Kramer is also there, who really leaned into his four-seamer effectively in his last outing. It's a good win chance against the Giants. He's also around that streaming spot at 21%. And I think the one that people are going to be really curious about is Cody Bradford, because Cody Bradford was really bad in his last one.
Mm-hmm.
There were two factors of that. One, the Diamondbacks are an elite offense right now. And two, Bradford really had the worst command I've seen from him all year in one game. And I often say one game does not define a pitcher both ways. So I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt to say, like, all right, you're not going to be throwing four-seamers and changeups down the middle of the plate like you were before. You're going to actually go upstairs with the four-seamer like you normally do. Changeups are going to be down like you normally have it. And it's against Toronto, who have a really, really bad back half of their lineup. So I think I'm going to roll with that one more so than Bryce Miller because he gets the Yankees, and more so than Freddie Peralta as they get the Phillies. And he's been all over the place.
Yeah. A few names that we have talked about a lot on the show, and the questionable start tier. It's Alec Marsh against the Tigers, Landon Knack against the Marlins, Javier Assad against the A's, DJ Hers against the Mets, Ryan Pepio against the Red Sox, Jack Kakanowitz against the White Sox, Brady Bassa against the Cubs, Eduardo Rodriguez against the Rockies, Cooper Crystal against the Rays, and Garrett Crochet against the Angels. I know they're ranked the top 4 in the start tier, or really just the 3 guys I see jump out to me. Landon Knack against the Marlins, Javier Assad against the A's, DJ Hers against the Mets lineup that we know will not have Francisco Lindor. Those 3 feel like maybe they could move up to the probably start tier, and I'm just curious.
I'm surprised you're not more in on Marsh.
The
mixing
Tigers,
it up.
The Tigers have been, I know, but the Tigers have been one of the best teams in the AL since the All-Star break. Like, yeah,
well, as far as like
really
their offense,
yes. As far as their win-loss record. So
right.
I know a lot of that is based on their pitching, but
yes,
I don't know. I'm just not. I would rather. I weirdly trust those other guys more in terms of the maybe not the consistency of DJ Hers. I know that he is a strikeout upside play.
Yep.
But Landon Knack and Javier Assad have been solid, not spectacular, but
so
solid.
Weird. He is so weird. I can't lean into that. I feel like that's the worst matchup of them all.
You think so?
And then Landon Knack against the Marlins seems good. There's 2 concerns I have. Is one, are the Dodgers actually going to let him go very long? Also and 2, it's slider fastball, which is fine, but it's not really consistent. So I'm not really enthused by any of them. Really, that's why they're all in the questionable start. Alec Marsh is fresh off of 11 strikeouts against the Pirates, getting whiffs on both the curveball and slider. And honestly, last 3 games he's had the curveball and slider. So I feel like I may be even down most on Marsh here. I mean, Assad is just the ceiling is very low, and he's one of those guys that's just like, oh, here's my sinker, try something. Here you go.
It is a stream for a win. You're hoping to get a win,
right?
Even though the Cubs haven't looked great of late, they should beat the A's. Yeah,
and you might be surprised to see Ryan Pepio so low, but he only went 2 innings with 38 pitches last time as they were managing his workload, and that's concerning. We just don't know
why. Like, you're eliminated from the playoffs. Shut a guy down or keep him in the roster. Why are you managing a workload and making a starter throw 38 pitches? Like, I don't get what's the point?
I don't know. I've stopped trying to make heads or tails and act like I know exactly what's best for the arms of these guys. So I'm just like, all right, that's what they're doing. And there you go.
Fair.
Jekka Hanowitz is an interesting one because he's a sinker baller. And if you're looking for a quality start and maybe even a sneaky win, there you go against the White Sox. But man, you're not going to get strikeouts, guys. And you might not get the best ratios. I don't know. But there's that.
And wild to see Crochet in this tier, but we know why.
We know because he's just going to go 50 pitches.
Right.
But like the thing is, that might be 6 strikeouts, 7 strikeouts against the Angels, and there's still value in that. So I don't know. Criswell could go long or not. They decide during the game if he's going to go 45 pitches or 70 or 80. I don't know. And Eduardo Rodriguez at Coors, to me, is just, look, you might get a win.
Don't do it.
You might get. I don't want to do it either, but I get it. You know, I understand why that instead of Jacob Junis, who I know went 5 innings twice in a row now. Peelbot got the stream right. I got to say, by the way, just really quick tangent, and then we'll go to a break. I'll give you the opportunity, Eric.
Thanks for
Peelbot. If you guys have noticed this with my streaming ranks, it has been a really tough 3 weeks with my streaming ranks. Oh my gosh. And Peelbot has had these absurdly sneaky ones out of nowhere at times. And I think it's a 4-game gap between me and Peelbot that I have to make up in the next 2 weeks. But long story short is I'm amazed and impressed by the work of Kyle Bland to make that work out. Last year, we had a different projection system, handily beat Peelbot. I traditionally go about 100 wins. It's like 160 or so. 165, something like that. And pretty close to there this year. Peelbot is beating me. I don't know how to feel about it. Like I'm getting beat by a machine, Eric. But at the same time, maybe I can just not do my job anymore and he can just take over for me and that would be nice.
Yeah.
But I'll say this. You guys are missing out if you're not at least getting the opinion of our projections daily. Because it nailed Jacob Junis. It nailed Cade Povich. It nailed Alec Marsh, I believe, too. Like it's done incredibly well in a different perspective that is against me. That is really helpful for a lot of people. So get that with Appeal Pro if you guys want that down the stretch.
Boom. There you go. And I get no joy out of this because you basically told me you were going to give it to me and then you just stopped talking.
Oh, actually, so
whatever. We're going to
Hayden Birdsong
thank you.
Is somewhere we're not going to talk about after this break. That's what you get. If you're gonna do the whole no joy in it,
there was no joy.
We gotta go. We gotta go ad break, Eric.
I need to make sure I earn it. So I'll get that. I'll try for the next one.
What's the next day, Eric?
The next day is Thursday. We have 12 games on Thursday. That's more than normal. So we get auto start. Chris Sale against the Reds. Jack Flaherty against the Marlins. Yusei Kikuchi against the Angels. Zach Eflin against the Giants. Logan Gilbert against the Yankees. You know, all these guys are over 90% rostered, except for Kikuchi, who's still rostered only 68% of leagues, which is ridiculous and dumb.
It is ridiculous.
He should be 90, and these guys should all be without question.
Yeah, that it's pretty easy stuff. What we got on the probable start?
Yeah, probably start tier. Starts with Kevin Gossman against the Rangers, Clark Schmidt against the Mariners, Logan Webb against the Orioles, Tanner Houck against the Rays, Jameson Taillon against the Nationals. We should just throw out, obviously, Houck here. Just really keep an eye on the news. We know he was scratched from his last start with dead arm. He's dealing with a dead arm right now. The Red Sox are still in the playoff race. I think they want him to start, but they're not going to force it if he's not healthy. And so expect that. And it could be Richard Fitz if it's not him.
If it's Fitz or Houck. If it's Fitz, we sits. If it's Fitz, we sits. Because that's at Tampa Bay. That seems good to me.
The glove does not Fitz.
Yes. Okay. And Jameson Taillon against the Nationals as well. Yeah, I mean, those are actually some streams you might be able to get. Same with Clark Schmidt. I really like this at Seattle. At Seattle is a very good matchup, y'all. So I'm a huge fan of that one for Clark Schmidt, who almost got the quality start, just barely missed it against the Red Sox. But yeah, he's in a good place right now.
Yeah. And listen, Logan Webb, you know, it's the Orioles, but the Orioles have been struggling a little bit of late. And Logan Webb's a solid starter. And so I get it. It's a little nerve-wracking. But I get it. I've been able to bench him in a few like draft and holds where I was able to get a much deeper pitching staff than you're probably having in a redraft league. But that's the
Right.
only situation where I could see not starting Logan Webb.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it hasn't gotten great against the Padres. That's the Padres, and I think actually Baltimore is not playing nearly as well
Yep.
on their offensive side as the Padres. So you go with it.
Yeah. Questionably start tier. You have Kumar Rocker against the Blue Jays, Luis Severino against the Phillies, Joey Cantillo against the Twins, Luis Ortiz against the Cardinals, Brandon Pfaadt against the Brewers, Edward Cabrera against the Dodgers, Zach Littell against the Red Sox, Eric Fetty against the Pirates, and Patrick Corbin against the Cubs. I guess we got to just talk about Rocker. I know you have talked about him on other platforms, but solid MLB debut. Looks like he's going to stick in the rotation, but Texas has so many arms, so the schedule of their pitchers could change as the week goes on. But you feel good about him against any opponent right now from what you saw in the first start?
Well, so yeah, this is for Thursday's games, and Rocker looked great. He looked so good. It was obviously a fantastic scenario inside of Seattle. I love his calm delivery. His fastball looks great. It's interesting how he doesn't get whiffs because he's trying to do the Blake Snell blueprint. He actually executed it, but it's not getting whiffs upstairs because it has a ton of drop on it. It has no IVB. It has the opposite. It has sink. So if I'm him, I'd be throwing it low, trying to do called strikes and trying to actually utilize the velocity. Because if you think about bat path down, if you're late on a pitch down, you're not going to be under the ball. You're going to be above the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So that actually helps you more with that drop down low. And I wonder if that changes over time for him. But the slider, I mean, really love the look of the slider as well. I would go for it. I was really tempted to put him in probably start. And against the Jays, where, yes, you do have some guys in that lineup, but it's not really that scary. I think I'm going to roll with it. He might get limited, though. If you're in a quality start league, I don't expect 6. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rangers do say, okay, you got good 5 innings. Let's take this easy. And it doesn't mean that this week you might see some Jack Leiter in a the start of the 5th inning situation. So if you're trying to play the whole max starts game, Leiter might be a guy who finds himself with another 3-inning performance with a win.
Oh, nice little tidbit right there. I like my boy Luis L. Ortiz when we get favorable matchups. So I'm happy I would pitch Luis L. Ortiz against the Cardinals. That's just me. I know he's in the questionable start tier. And also, like, Joey Cantillo, the last 2 starts have been good. And it was the White Sox and the Rays. So then you're just weighing is it competition? Is it, actually him making a change? I loved, seeing the photos. I think it was Lance Brozdowski. I don't want to give credit if it wasn't, but I believe Lance had the photos of the Vulcan grip on the changeup. And I kind of love digging into these weird grips from pitchers and how they get success out of things that are slightly unorthodox.
I didn't know it was a Vulcan.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sad. Oh no. Here's the thing. I've been actually, there have been a lot of random little lessons that I've learned this year and things that I've become more interested in that I'm taking note of as kind of like a blueprint for success. Okay. Now, it's like a lot of how I function. If you guys know me, it's about, all right, what is your arsenal? Is this an arsenal that generally speaks to having success? What kind of success is it? So on and so forth, right? And there are always so many ways to construct one, but guys obviously have all these little variations and whatnot. And what I've noticed this year is you can find value in lefties that have fastballs and changeups. You can also find value in fastball changeups for either side if you have extension on that 4-seamer. So that's your Bailey Ober type. That's your Cody Bradford type, for example, in that fashion. But Cantillo was interesting as not only a lefty with a changeup, which has become a big thing this year. You see Cole Reagans, you see Tarek Skubal, you see Tyler Anderson, etc. There are a lot more in there too. And I also see 7.5 feet of extension, and I go, oh,
yes.
And I really missed the extension part of Cantillo before. I remember watching him during his debut and was really kind of just, the fastball wasn't really looking that good. The secondaries weren't that consistent either. But recently, the changeup has become a thing. And I was thinking to myself, oh, wait, hold on a second. If you can just do a left-handed Bailey Ober, that's what Cody Bradford has done. And Cody Bradford, all the success. There's another changeup guy from the left side. I would be interested. But if it's a Vulcan change, you might as well call it a splitter, because that's what a Vulcan change is. It's really a splitter grip where you have your two fingers and you just gain the bulges of the ball, but instead of doing it with the index in your middle, you're doing it with your middle and your ring, like you're doing the Vulcan Spock thing, right?
Right.
Which Eric, I don't get that.
Also,
I don't really
my
understand
fingers can't- I
why
can't do that.
anyone
I can't
would do that instead of a normal split. I
Right.
genuinely
I-
do not understand.
I'm of the belief that a lot of this stuff and that's why I said I find it interesting. I think a lot of it is messing around, right? You're trying to find the change up grip that works for you. Maybe he was doing a circle. Maybe he was working on a split because he couldn't find a change he liked.
Yeah.
Maybe it would be a great thing to chat with him about. And maybe it's just like you just start experimenting in a bullpen, right? I need to find something I have the command of. I need to find something I have I have a feel for. And maybe he does. I mean, it's gotten tons of swings and misses against righties.
Oh yeah.
And to your point, like if that pitch is just a threat, like it doesn't have to be elite. If it's a threat, and then you're throwing 92 at 7.5 feet of extension, if hitters are adjusting for a changeup or being kept honest by a changeup, a 92-mile-an-hour fastball that has 7.5 feet of extension plays up like a high 90s fastball. It gives it a little extra
Yeah, I mean,
juice.
yeah, if you think of it, like 92.5 goes to like 95. And if Cantillo can actually do Blake Snell blueprint of four seamers upstairs and changeups down, that's great. I just get less faith in the changeup always being there if it's a Vulcan. And going against the Twins isn't fun right now when you have a healthy Buxton and healthy Correa in there too.
Also, though, the Vulcan has been really good mainly against righties, and he mainly uses it to righties, and the Twins will platoon heavily. Sure. They won't put any left-handed hitters in the lineup.
Maybe that's a good thing there. So that could work out really well. He's wedged right now between Luis Severino against the Phillies, who honestly, I'm just like, all right, whatever you do, what you want with Severino. And then your boy Luis Ortiz, who I believe is just very boring. He doesn't get enough whiffs. He doesn't really have the command of his cutter and his slider to get them, while the four-seamer that was waking up is not really anymore. So it's just kind of like start. I would put Kumar Rocker, Severino, and Cantillo in a little mini tier above the rest.
It's
reason.
Offensive, but fair. It's offensive.
Offensive? If it's fair, it's not offensive.
But it was boring. Could have found other words.
I mean, am I wrong?
No.
Right. So then what the heck? Okay.
Still hurts me.
There's also Fott, who obviously allowed 8 earned runs, but I mean, there's a grand slam involved in that kind of stuff. And like, one start doesn't find a guy, but it really is a cherry bomb. And so is Eric Cabrera, but he gets the Dodgers. But then again, if Eric Cabrera is doing his thing, I put out a GIF of like 99 perfectly spotted inside, followed by like 94 in the dirt that like looked like a splitter almost. I mean, it's so disgusting if Eric Cabrera could just throw enough strikes. It is so good. And it's not like Joe Boyle, like, oh my gosh, ridiculous everywhere. It's not. Mm-hmm. It's just in the moments he needs to, can he fully execute as he wants? And sometimes he does. Like in a game, he's just doing the thing. And it's so good, regardless of opponent. So I'm excited there, but who knows? Littell gets a good matchup against the Red Sox. I know he just did it really well. That was a weird one, but I'm glad for him. Eric Fede, I don't have any faith in, but maybe he gets 6 against the Pirates. And Patrick Corbin, who honestly, it's been 4 out of his last 5 starts have come through now. I'm just saying that's kind of wild, but it's the Cubs. So far.
Yeah. And then we got the do not starts, and don't start them. So we don't even really need to talk about
it's I mean, you don't want Aguilar as a sinker baller. You don't want Colin Ray against the Diamondbacks. No way. Same with Richardson. He's even like going 5. Maybe he is, but it's in Cleveland, which isn't fun. Colby Allard, otherwise known as Drala, you don't want to go for. And Jose Suarez, there's a name. Is he actually starting this? I'm curious about his next start, Jose Suarez, but this one's against the Astros, and no thanks.
Don't do it. So we move to Friday. September 20th, Friday, auto start. Corbin Burns against the Tigers, Garrett Cole against the A's, Joe Musgrove against the White Sox, Jacob deGrom, it's so nice to say that name, against the Mariners.
Oh, man. DeGrom is so good.
He's here, guys. He's back.
He's so good.
Yeah.
It's like they should have traded him away. And I know I said this before and I rambled about it and everyone was like, Nick, this is the dumbest thing you've said. I don't care. I don't understand still why teams weren't trying to trade for Jacob deGrom at the deadline. Like, here's a guy that is going to be stretched out for the playoffs. It was the best pitcher on the planet. And I know there's money involved, but you got to think that like one of the teams like, okay, hold on a second. We are so close to World Series. We literally just need one more pitcher. Like the Orioles be like, all right, we got to figure something out here because we want Jacob deGrom on our team for the playoffs. Right?
They'll
like
take Zach Eflin instead. It's fine.
I understand, but what if it was Burns, Eflin, deGrom?
Yeah.
You know, like the Yankees could have used the Mets. Oh my gosh, come on home, deGrom.
Do you think?
I know this is all whatever.
You think if deGrom went to the Yankees, he would have intentionally walked Rafael Devers with nobody on base?
Don't do this right now. Garrett Cole, 7 runs against the Red Sox. This whole thing with the Red Sox is weird, and we're just gonna move past that. He's going.
It's not even the fact that his stats against the Red Sox are atrocious. As a competitor, the intentional walk of Devers to me is just like, it is one of the weakest things I have seen in such a long time. Like, there's nobody on base. You're clearly the better team. The Red Sox have fallen on their face over the last month. Devers himself had a sub 600 OPS over his last month. Like, I know that he's a very good hitter, but he's not hitting well. And you're supposed to be like the best pitcher in the American League, and you're going to intentionally walk him on 4 pitches with nobody on base? It's absurd. It's absurd.
I mean, the thing is, it's like, it is absurd. It's also, it makes sense analytically of just like this. Everyone else is really bad. He's the only one who can, like,
you basically just woke up a lineup that hadn't done anything because
absolutely. What? And it was totally not it. And I feel like it's one of those scenarios of like, you can point out all the reasons like, yeah, this is statistically better to do this. It makes all the sense. And then you got to understand that this is not a computer. These are humans, and this affects things. This actually changes the intangibles of the moment. And that's what messed it up. And like,
do you think it was an analytical call, or do you think it was a
100%
by Garrett Cole?
No, I think it was like a generally like strategy call of like, I think this guy is the one that keeps burning me, and he's the only one that I can take on everyone else, and I'm just not going to give them an opportunity.
Right, but I don't think the Yankees
in our best interest just to do this, and we'll like, you know.
I don't think the Yankees analytics team was like, you should walk him. I think Cole. I
mean, it was a discussion in the tunnel.
Maybe. Sure.
That's what they said. No, there was a discussion in the tunnel beforehand, and like Cole turned to the dugout and nodded, be like, I'm going to go ahead with a plan. Like, this was a plan that they discussed, you know?
It's so soft. It's so soft.
Yeah, there's the Kobe Bryant soft thing. I'm with you. And like, as a pitcher too, you know, it's especially, I just think of like Mike Messina yelling at Joe Torre, right? Like that kind of thing, like Mad Max Scherzer saying like, there's no way I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to tear his head off or whatever it is. Like, sorry guys for that image, but like, right. That's the mentality you got to have. And you could look at it as like in the book as a box score. That's one thing, but these are humans. And by intentionally walking someone like that, it completely changes how the next batter performs, how you as a pitcher feel. I'm
sorry for the digression. I'm just like, as a competitor, I think if there's somebody who has had a really successful history against me, I want to beat him. I want to beat him. I want to be in the lineup against the pitcher that keeps getting me out, because I want to get to him. I don't want to say, actually, my hamstring is barking today. Why don't you let somebody else take my spot?
John Kruk hitting the other side of the batter's box against Randy Johnson. But who else we got on Friday? And the
probably starts on Friday. We got Jose Barrios against the Rays, Christopher Sanchez against the Mets, Zach Gallen against the Brewers, Michael Wacha against the Giants, Justin Verlander against the Angels, David Peterson against the Phillies, Charlie Morton against the Marlins, and Walker Buehler against the Rockies. Verlander's last few starts have not been good, but again, this is the Angels, and so really good shot at a win. And probably not going to get lit up. It might not be great, but it has a good chance to be just a solid start.
Yeah, this whole thing is weird. I mean, you gotta go with Barrios, the great undulator, who somehow like was on such a bad side, and then has, since I said, hey, you don't really need to hold on to Barrios, has been insanely good. So now he's actually further on the end of the best outcomes of Jose Barrios. And what I mean by that, I call him the great undulator because he normally goes between a 3.5 ERA and a 3.8 ERA and like a 1.17 whip throughout the entire year. Like, this is just who he is. Now he's like a 3.43. And all I'm thinking to myself is like, you're going to mess up because this is what you do. You are the great undulator. You got to find a way. It's going to be like 6 innings and 3 runs. Christopher Sanchez has had like a 20% strikeout rate, but then finally got 7 Ks yesterday. But I don't know. He's kind of the best Toby there is. He's the Spider-Man this season. Zach Gallen's strange. He did not have his changeup working on Sunday, and I don't know what he's doing with his fastball. Sometimes he's able to go low and high with it. Sometimes he only goes high. Yesterday was a bit of like a middle. I guess you're just going to do it against Milwaukee. Walker's looking great. I love the start against the Giants. Verlander, as you mentioned, you're just going to get another win, and that's cool. David Peterson is on a heater. Like, it's bonkers to me. I don't buy it, but I guess if you have him, you're going to start him against Philly. Like, you would have gotten a win yesterday if it wasn't for Edwin Diaz, which, again, saved my season. Thank you, Edwin, I guess. Charlie Morton has been a cherry bomb, but then kind of been consistent lately. Just survived the Dodgers. But honestly, I don't buy him throwing 4-seamers and curveballs the way he did in that game to replicate, but it's the Marlins, so fine. And then Walker Buehler, I mean, you get Rocky Road. It should be a win. I think you do it. Whatever. That's all I got.
Whatever.
I mean, it's just, I can't analyze this guy. He doesn't, it was a 40% or 41% CSW cutter. That's nice, but you still don't really have the person that you know. Like, you trust. Like, also, all of these curveballs were just so bounced yesterday. Walker Buehler, it's so frustrating, but at least it's Rocky Road and he's going long enough and doesn't have a bum knee like Bobby Miller. So,
yeah,
fine.
That's true. We got some interesting names in the questionably start tier, but we're going to get to those after this break. Earned it. Nick Martinez against the Pirates, Brian Bayo against the Twins, Kyle Gibson against the Guardians, Mitch Keller against the Reds, Ben Lively against the Cardinals, Justin Steele against the Nationals, Robbie Ray against the Royals, Tyler Anderson against the Astros, Tobias Myers against the Diamondbacks, Brant Herter against the Orioles, and David Festa against the Red Sox. The 2 names that jump out, obviously, are Justin Steele and Robbie Ray. These are projected returns from the IL. It's a shoulder shrug. These are spots where they might return, where there's discussion that they could return, but it's not a sure thing. I
don't actually think that Robbie Ray is going to make this one. But I can also understand that it's been a short enough time that he would go long enough to be productive. Justin Steele, same kind of idea. There's still little starts. I don't know. I'd rather go with Ben Lively, believe it or not, which is just so like,
yeah, he's been rough for the last.
Except that he came through yesterday in a poor matchup, in a good matchup, and like, fine, you did the thing you were supposed to do. Thank you for the win. Kyle Gibson's a Toby. Brian Bayo, I've just labeled now as a cherry bomb. Nick Martinez has looked good and it gets the Pirates, so fine. It is in Sin City, but whatever. Tyler Anderson's at Houston. Like, then really like the Justin Steele, Robbie Ray line of that questionable start. It's like, okay, all of these are now bad matchups who performed well generally, or just like it's David Festa. And I'm like, what is it, David Festa? Can we do this or not? Are the Twins going to just pull you after 5? Or I don't know, but Brant Herter threw 5.2 innings of perfection. And, or maybe, I'm sorry, he allowed a walk by the end of it. Tobias Myers gets the Diamondbacks. Oh, and Tyler Anderson, at least you have a good changeup still. So maybe that works against the Houston Astros.
Maybe it does. Just a, well, let's see. Just a thing to keep in mind on. I just got a notification searching Twitter that O'Neal Cruz is out because of an ankle injury. So again, keep an eye on that if you're starting people like Lance Lynn, who we were talking about earlier against the Pirates. Nick Martinez. There are few good hitters in the Pirates lineup. O'Neal Cruz obviously is one of them. If he's nursing an ankle injury and he is out, that makes the Pirates a much more approachable lineup to stream against.
Absolutely.
Do not start guys. Don't start them. I
mean, JT Ginn, I can see it working if he gets his Yankees working. I know. I trust me. I haven't been do not start, but I guess what I'm getting at, it's important to make the distinction of just, look, this isn't going to work versus this has not a good chance of working, right? Beazo has had some random games of like 1 run in 5+ innings and whatever. Chris Flexen just got 20 whiffs. I just want to mention that again. he got 20 whiffs. Okay. Maybe it was 18, but it was a lot of whiffs. I think it was 20. It looked good. It actually, like, he's over the top. If you don't know, if you haven't watched Chris Flexen, I understand. He's an over the top guy with sometimes a really good curve and a cutter that are good. And if he doesn't have to throw too many four seamers because it's a really easy attack angle, it can work. And he's flexing at the beach. But this is the Padres. Oh boy. Emerson Hancock could find outs against the Rangers if you're desperate as well. I'm just saying these things. Tyler Alexander, I don't expect to go long enough. I mean, he'll be a followed 4 and it'll be like 3 innings, and I hope you get a win at that time. But like, ugh. Yeah.
You heard it. You heard it.
Friday.
Saturday, the 21st of September. Auto starts. Shota Imanaga against the Nationals. Max Fried against the Marlins. Yoshinobu Yamamoto against the Rockies, not in Coors. Ronald Blanco against the Angels. Pablo Lopez against the Red Sox. Carlos Rodon against the A's. Max Scherzer against the Mariners. George Kirby against the Rangers. Sean Manaea against the Phillies. And Jared Jones against the Reds. I guess the two big ones here are Manaea against the Phillies. And Jones, because it is in Cincinnati. So talk me through why those guys made the auto start here.
Yeah, so Manaea's just been so good. That's why he's the head of, he's the featured image today. I mean, I think like it's just a case of I don't care. You just throw Manaea at this point. And Jared Jones, I know he just went 4 innings and 97 pitches. We have our Fan 4 Plus stat that we haven't really published much, but we have it inside of our Today's Four Seamer app for PL Pro users. And that essentially says, based on the 4 elements that return whiffs, there's velocity and extension and height adjusted VAA and induced vertical break, safer location. There's really stuff elements that return whiffs. Jared Jones was a 151, which is 51% more likely to return a whiff than the average four seamer. He's like the only guy that has above a 150 ever this season. So it's such a good four seamer. And as long as he gets a curveball or a slider working inside the zone, he should do well regardless of opponent to me. And I just can't really believe that he only went 4 innings and 97 pitches with 18 or 17 foul balls allowed. And he just didn't have his curveball. Okay, fine. But it still should have been a better outcome. I'm absolutely starting Jones. Kirby is kind of boring and he's not really doing amazing things. And it's really annoying, but I guess you just got to do it. Scherzer might not go that long, but against the Mariners, I think you should. And same with Yamamoto, but he should be able to go 5 against Rocky Road. I think he's far enough along that. So there you go. The auto start tier for Saturday.
And a very tiny, probably start tier. Matthew Boyd against the Cardinals. Martin Perez against the White Sox. Cade Povich against the Tigers. Curious why Martin Perez, given the matchup at least, didn't make the auto start tier.
Well, he only went 5 innings.
Sure.
That's the thing is I don't think that the Padres are gonna. The Padres aren't letting him go long. Okay. And I love the matchup. I also think that Martin Perez, I mean, pitched well. I watched a lot of that one, but it wasn't the best version of Martin Perez that I've seen.
No, agreed.
And yes, lefties against the White Sox. Absolutely. That's why it's probably start. But the fact of the matter was that he got pulled before 70 pitches. And that means the leash is a lot smaller or shorter for Perez than we'd like. So with that, he's not in the auto start tier. Matthew Boyd against the Cardinals, we're all good for that. And Cade Povich against the Tigers. I don't really think that Cade Povich is absurdly great or something. I think the White Sox start is completely masking the real version of Povich. He allowed a 2-run shot to Riley Green. That was a terrible fastball on Sunday and otherwise pitched fine. And I think that's what we're going to get again. The Orioles have to actually wake up and do well offensively, please. Thank you very much. But Cade Povich is a good start for that Saturday.
Yeah. Yes, I think Povich was hyped coming up, but we've seen enough at this point, including the start against the Red Sox, which did not go well. Questionably start. Cutter Crawford against the Twins, Merrill Kelly against the Brewers, Brady Singer against the Giants, Rhett Lauder against the Pirates, Mackenzie Gore against the Cubs, Taj Bradley against the Blue Jays, Ranger Suarez against the Mets, Mason Black against the Royals, JP Sears against the Yankees, and Adam Oller against the Braves. We should talk about Rhett Lauder because the stats look really good. It's like giving me major Andrew Abbott vibes from last year.
Yeah, right.
He came up for the Reds and the stats look great. And we were saying,
no way.
he hasn't earned this. I somehow feel better about Louder than I did about Abbott because I think Louder has a collection of above average pitches, or at least I think the fastball and the slider are above average. And the slider I think has the potential to be better. And so I understand like there's a foundation there. And in matchups like this against the Pirates, I'm like, okay, I can talk myself into this one, but I don't talk myself into like, yes, he's deserved this 150 whatever ERA that he has.
Well,
Like,
yeah.
I think he's a low 4s ERA type of
Yeah, I see him
arm,
more as a Toby.
but I
And
can get strikeouts in this one, maybe.
I hope so. I also do want to mention that there is also a slightly shorter leash than your typical Toby, which is also steering me away a little bit. But yeah, the slider can get whiffs. The sinker and four-seamer have done fine. They've worked. I don't really see them and go, oh man, these are really good pitches. I don't feel that way, but they have worked. The obviously the news of Neil Cruz, maybe he's out in this game, that could maybe bump him up a little bit more. Also, I do want to mention back-to-back note, says inside of YouTube, because yes, these are streamed live on YouTube. Will DeGrom go 5 innings? I think he will. And I feel like if you have DeGrom, you just throw him out there. Yeah. It's just you don't sit DeGrom. But yeah, you don't know if it's gonna be 5. We hope it is. But with Rhett Louder, I had him as a desperate stream against the Twins. It almost even worked out. He got pulled with, and both runs scored after a double and a walk. And it's possible he goes 6, but I feel like the Reds are going to have a shorter leash. So keep that in mind with Rhett.
One thing to note, it's 1 walk in each of the last 2 starts. That's important because the command was not great in those earlier starts. So if he can get those walks in check, I think that will give him a little bit more of that length you're talking about. If you're not walking 4 guys a game, you're more likely to go 5+, 6 innings, whatever it is. And so, look, I don't think there's going to be a domination here, but maybe you pick up a decent enough start where, he kind of goes toward that probably start tier for me, I think, or just the top of the questionably start tier. There's some other guys. Listen, the lowest rostered rate guy here is Mason Black, only 1%. So you can get him basically anywhere.
Yeah, I don't love him at all. I mean, the bottom of this, like, I don't like Ranger Suarez at all here. He's at the Mets, and people might say, well, Ranger Suarez is so good. Lower velocity, does not have the changeup of old right now. It's like, this is not the good version of Ranger Suarez. And Mason Black, sometimes he has a good fastball slider, and okay, maybe that's it. Maybe that actually is good enough for the Royals without Vinny Pasquantino. It's a case where it's Saturday, you're looking for starts. JP Sears against the Yankees. He's a cherry bomb there, of course. Adam Oller could make it work against Atlanta. I know this 2-step was not good, and you're just frustrated. Like, oh man, I thought that was going to be really good against the Pirates, Nick. I thought in the Marlins, he's on the Marlins. The other good one, Nationals, maybe it was. And I was like, I understand. He was also really close to getting success in both of those. I could see it working if he does get his curveball over the zone enough in this one against Atlanta. But yeah, I don't like any of them, but I do like them more than the do not start tier. And that meant that, okay, fine. Like you can find 5 innings plus that is production of these a little bit more so than those in the final tier.
Yeah. Yes. And the final tier, there are guys like Kaider Montero has been great lately. He gets the Orioles. I know he
2 whiffs
good.
And like a 14% CSW.
Yes. Well, I say he's been great. Stat lines have been great for him lately. Through 5 shutout innings against the Orioles the last time out, but you're playing with fire a little bit. Yariel Rodriguez, lined up against the Rays, which is enticing. But again, that guy you just really never know what you're going to get, how long he can go into games. All that.
It's like 4.1 innings was his last game. It's just like, okay, like it's just such a waste at times.
Yes. But also probably shouldn't have been a surprise again for somebody who was not a prospect on the international scene until he transitioned into a multi-inning relief role. And then he came over and they were going to make him a starter. And it's like, well, he wasn't even an MLB prospect as a starter in Cuba. So why now all of a sudden playing against MLB competition is he going to be a starting prospect?
Right.
And who knows, maybe he'll evolve into one.
And Sean Burke looked actually pretty good. I watched that game. I was like, oh, this is all right. He's got a fastball that grades out well. He just has to look just slightly better, but it's pretty good to me. And a slider that gets whiffs and a curveball that can be very good. And it's like, wait, those are 3 pitches. Oh, you get the Padres this week? Never mind. Next week, though, oh man, he might be a sneaky one. I think he hits the Tigers at the end of the week in the final weekend of the season. I'm just throwing it out there. If Schomburg gets that might be like, oh my gosh, Schomburg, amazing.
I admittedly didn't watch that start, so I can't.
I got
weigh
you.
in,
I got
but now
the
I gotta check it out.
stock.
Now I
That's a
gotta.
Justin Paradis special.
Clever.
That wasn't me.
Like
that was Justin Paradis. I'm like, dude, that
good.
is lock that in.
That was good. I like that.
Beautiful. We got one more day.
We do have one more day.
Sunday. But Eric, what are we gonna do?
I don't know. I think we'll probably talk about it after this break.
Look at that tag team.
We did it. We did it, guys. Yay. Go us. So Sunday, 22nd, we got Zach Wheeler against the Mets, Paul Skeens against the Reds, Blake Snell against the Royals, Seth Lugo against the Giants, Yu Darvish against the White Sox, Spencer Arrighetti against the Angels, Luis Heel against the A's, and Brian Woo against the Rangers. Again, all auto starts. Most of these guys are guys we told you were auto starts earlier on in the week, so it makes sense that they're auto starts again here.
Yeah, it might be actually too low on Brian Woo, but I mean, Yu Darvish not so against the Astros. He's also gonna be like 75 pitches today and Monday, but then he'll be stretched out to 80, 85, and it's the White Sox. And like, all right, well, that should be fun. So yeah, pretty simple stuff.
Very simple stuff there. Probably start tier. You got Chris Bassett again, but he's against the Rays. Albert Suarez in a better start now against the Tigers. Shane Baz against the Blue Jays, and Nick Pivetta against the Twins. All these guys also showed up earlier, so they're 2-start week guys. So again, if you're in a weekly lineup lock league, well, first of all, by the time you're listening to this, you probably locked your starters, but also that adds some extra value for them.
Yeah, I debate a lot on Nick Pivetta, and I might honestly, by the time this shows up, or on Sunday, I might have Nick Pivetta into the questionable start realm, but because how do I feel about that Twins lineup? Also, really interesting tidbit, much better four-seamer against lefties and righties. And I think it's because he showcases his sweeper more obviously because he's so over the top. And where does he throw sweepers? To righties. So four-seamer, they can be batters can key into it much better as a righty because they're looking for the sweeper. If it's not the sweeper, it's the fastball. While lefties see curveballs, and that's a lot closer to the same arm action in delivery. Thus, it's harder to distinguish between the four-seamer and curveball between the two. So if the Minnesota Twins have a lot of good righties, which it sounds like they do, that might be a start that I want to put into questionable.
Mm-hmm. Interesting to see. Yeah, I get that. And he hasn't been particularly great of late as well. The name at the top of the question start here is interesting because a week ago, we probably would have thought he's a probably start. It's Andrew Heaney.
Yeah.
Against the Mariners. You got Bobby Miller against the Rockies, Gavin Williams against the Cardinals, Reed Detmers against the Astros, Tyler McGill against the Phillies, Frankie Montas against the Diamondbacks, Jordan Wicks again in that better start against the Nationals, Andre Palante against Cleveland, Jake Irvin against the Cubs, and Hunter Green against Pittsburgh. So talk to me about Andrew Heaney, because obviously the last start wasn't great, but we had expected had the best schedule of any starting pitcher at the end of the year, was looking really good. It seemed like a lock that he was going to be, an every week starter down the stretch. And now we've got some minor questions or concerns.
Yeah. With Heaney, it's the start against the Mariners just wasn't so overwhelming. His changeup wasn't there as much. And the Mariners are a little bit better than I gave them credit for the month of September. Also, 89 pitches through 5 innings as well. He should have also allowed 0 runs because there was a 3-2 pitch that was a strike, and then it was a 3-run shot after that. But whatever, it's fine. Andrew Heaney, I just feel is slightly more volatile than I would like him to be. I really debated with that one too. I might ultimately have Heaney over Pivetta. But Bobby Miller against the Rocky Road, I just don't know how long he's going to go. Gavin Williams, I think should be good, but I don't want to wish cast that too much. Reed Detmers could still be good against the Astros. And I feel like after Gavin Williams, it's really the teardrop once again. But I do have Jordan Wicks here. Look at that. It's against the Nationals. And maybe I'm feeling like he gets more, comfortable coming back from the IL after the Athletic start. Then, okay, maybe he'll be better against the Nationals. So there are a lot of interesting things here in Hunter Green, of course, right? Against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Is he going to start this game? If he is, he has not pitched a rehab start. So I don't know how much we're going to see of it. What is
Yeah.
this?
Yeah, and it's in Cincinnati too. So yeah, not an ideal situation here.
No.
But again, I guess if you're chasing a win on Sunday, if he goes 5, there's a chance against the Pirates. Who knows? It is a roll of the dice for sure. Do not start tier. Again, you have Ian Anderson on here. Situation to monitor, depending on what the Braves decide to do. We have Reese Olson on here, potentially coming back, but again against the Orioles. Jordan Montgomery back in the rotation, but against the Brewers, like these are not starts that you're particularly chasing. And again, obviously, since they're in do not start tiers, these are likely not even guys who are set up in a position to grab a win. So you're not even like, hey, all I need is a win. I'll take bad ratios. I guess it
Yeah.
would be whoever starts for the Braves.
Yeah, it could be Jordan Montgomery, maybe. It is for Arizona. Maybe Reese Olson is stretched out enough. And if you're also, by the way, if you're listening to this, you can watch the entire episode on YouTube, our channel On the Corner podcast on YouTube. The entire thing is there as we live stream it every week. It's possible Reese Olson is stretched out enough. He's only thrown about 45 pitches in his last rehab. I don't think he will, but it's possible there too. Joey Estes at least will go long enough against the Yankees. Zebby Matthews doesn't really though. And boy, do I regret jumping on that train. I'm so sorry, everyone.
I mean,
Jonathan
the first,
Ken always has
the
crazy
first 3
things.
starts looked fine. Like, and
Yeah,
he had a
looked
really good minor league track
and
record.
And then he had good matchups and he just couldn't do it. But so it goes. I mean, the Twins are also being really aggressive, pulling him too. But yeah, I really don't want to have to lean on any of these. If it is Grant Holmes against the Marlins, I would be bumping him up and would be more aggressive on it. But it's all based on how long he goes in the first one. If he goes at least 70 pitches, I'd be very much in on that one. And I would have him probably above Reed Detmers, honestly. Because I think it's a good win chance. I think Grant Holmes is great. And I would say, hey, cool, 75 pitches against the Marlins. That should be 5 innings and that should work. But if he's throwing like 60 or so, then I don't want to do Grant Holmes in the first game. If we see that in the first game, then I don't want to do it in this one on Sunday.
Yeah, obviously, Sunday will come down a lot to where are you at? What does your team need? All those kind of decisions that you can't possibly know until you're in it and you're managing and you're doing the best you can to kind of figure out how to get over the hump. So hopefully that helps you there. There are only 8 guys pitching on Monday the 23rd, so we're going to talk about them very quickly, just in case you're listening to this and you want to know who to pick up or just want to know what to do on that Monday. I'll just go through all of them real quick. There's only 3 auto starts. It's Aaron Nola against the Cubs, Bowden Francis against the Red Sox, Hunter Brown against the Mariners. The one probably start is Eduardo Rodriguez against the Giants. The 2 questionable starts are Bryce Miller against the Astros, Javier Assad against the Phillies, and the do not starts Cooper Criswell against the Blue Jays, Hayden Birdsong against the Diamondbacks. Any quick thoughts on those guys?
I mean, look, maybe Javier Assad is just enough against the Phillies. I don't like this. Bryce Miller is not in Seattle. He's in Houston. So I don't like that. But Eduardo Rodriguez is a probable start as a Toby on a winning team against the Giants. He'll be able to go 6 innings. That just makes sense to me. Hunter Brown gets a great matchup against the Mariners. Bowden Francis, here he is again. Aaron Nola against the Cubs. And the very bottom of it, look, if you are so desperate on that Monday, I guess Hayden Birdsong could find the zone somehow. Maybe Cooper Criswell does actually go 80+ pitches against Toronto, and I'm undervaluing that one. But yeah, this isn't a great start to the week. Just the Eduardo Rodriguez one is the interesting one you might be able to capitalize on at 30% rostered right now.
Yeah. Very good to see. Very good to talk to you about some baseball. Nick, some pitchers, some good starts, some bad starts. I hope you're going to have just an utter blast at the game.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. It's great to see good people, and of course, watch some baseball. Always great time.
We'll be back with another episode next week. Obviously, that will be our last episode for this season. We're obviously going to do a bunch of off-season content. We got some mock drafts coming your way, which we'll break down. We are going to do a review. Nick and I were talking.
I'm going to have my plan is on Wednesday, October 3rd. October 2nd, I'll be releasing my top 200 starting pitchers for 2024. And
Yep.
we will have that podcast out, I believe, on that Wednesday morning, just a day later, talking about it. So, yeah, that's going to be something.
Yep.
Eric is going to have his at some point. I don't know.
I'll do it
Uh,
in the off season. Yeah, I need some
yeah,
time
you're
to
not going to do
decompress
just a
from
quick.
it all.
I mean, I encourage you just to do a quick rough draft. Like, yeah, here we
Yeah.
go. Here's a loose
What
one that you can compare
I
with.
think, obviously is, the other thing I was about to tease, we are going to
Hmm.
do like a recap, look at the year, lessons learned, all that kind of stuff. And so I think in doing that, lessons learned, what do we get wrong,
Mm.
what do we get right, whatever, uh, podcast, it'll be able to be a nice way to look back at my rankings and things I did wrong, right. And so that'll be a fun episode to break down kind of like what our takeaways are and how we can, take those lessons into 2025.
Yeah, and what's really fun right now is that the PL community during my list stream today was they actually helped me with that top 200 by filling out most of every single team's pitchers for next year, from
Mm.
prospects to people in the rotation who are injured. So I'm going to spend all of Monday and Tuesday live streaming on the 30th and the 1st. You think baseball season's over? It is not. Okay, this is like my last thing that I'm just like, all right, this is my real reflection of the year, and I'm going to get this done for looking forward for next year right away. So tune in for that. It's going to be wild. It's going to be just, we're going to do it all. Can't
So
wait.
wild, people.
But
So
before
wild.
then, we're going to get you your championship. So come on by to my office hours, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern time each weekday morning at playback.tv/pitcherlist. I am there live. No question am I passing over to help you win your team. So please come on by, and I got you.
We got you. We do. We'll take you all the way across that finish line. I am Eric Samulski, the Pelican,
I'm Nick Pollack, the Lion.
and I'm going to go watch that Sean Burke start.